What is going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be putting something to the test with the super cheap turbo Civic that I've been wanting to try out for quite some time. So ever since we put together the cheapest possible turbo kit that I could piece together, I've been wondering, what if we didn't have a welder and all we had was JB Weld? Could we still build ourselves a turbo kit? So today we're going to find out the answer. I've got some extra charge piping, a whole bunch of JB Weld, a couple blow-up valve flanges, and a car to test it on. So let's get through the intro and jump right into today's video. Through the intro, I want to give you guys a quick rundown on the plan. Bear with me, my voice might be a little bit in and out. I'm just getting over being sick. But the plan is to pick a section of the turbo kit that we can pretty easily see, so that if it starts to develop any stress cracks or it completely blows apart, we can physically see it. Once we pick the section that we're going to work with, we can take our aluminum piping and start JB welding it together. Once we get the JB weld applied, we can lay it in front of our wood stove for a minimum of 24 hours. Puts off a lot of heat and should really help this stuff cure fully. Once the JB weld is fully cured and hardened up, we can reinstall it on the car, and we do run an electronic boost control, so we can disable boost control altogether, run the car on gate pressure, which should put us down around 5 to 6 PSI, and then see if it holds. Obviously, if it holds, we can re-engage our boost control and start upping the boost from there and see just how long it can hold on. So let's go take a look at the current kit. We'll pick a section that we're going to start building and get to work. All right, let's go ahead and start taking this section out. So I'm not too worried about blow-off valve placement because I can just use some quick connect line and make it wherever we need. And then I've got another line back here for our boost control. We'll figure something out there. And then back here I have our intake air temp sensor. Once again, not too worried about that. For our testing, we can just put the intake air temp sensor in the engine bay. It's not critical for what we're doing. But I'm gonna go ahead and start getting this charge pipe off. Go ahead and unplug this for safety so I don't rip the wires out. I just need to get it off here, just like so. Now we've got the section that we're going to be replacing. We're going to make all this out of aluminum with the JB Weld and see what happens. I just needed to get this out of there so that we could size everything up and start making our pieces. All right, let's go in the garage, start cutting some pieces to fit this and get to work. So now that we got that done, the next thing that we need to get done is making up some couplers so that we can put one on each end. Everything else is going to be JB welded, but we are going to need some really short couplers just for the throttle body to our pipe and from the piece we're making today to our old section. And now we can just trace around it with a Sharpie and get this cut, and we'll have a coupler, and then I'll make one more and we should be good to go there. Now that we've got it lined up, I can just go ahead and make our mark. Just like so. And now, like I said, you can use a razor blade at this point. If you're gonna use a razor blade, it's almost easier to leave this pipe on. Gives you something to run up against. Making a few light slices with a sharp blade is usually a little easier than just trying to cut right through it at one shot. This has reinforcements in it, so it's easier to just kind of slice away at it. Making sure to keep your fingers out of the way. Just like so. Boom. So that actually worked out pretty good. Now we've got one coupler, we can make one more, and then we can get to work with our aluminum. Now that we've got the silicone couplers made, we can move on to working with aluminum. Now, like I said, I don't have another blow-off valve flange, so we're gonna have to scavenge this one. Now what I'm gonna do is just cut it off of here, and we could transfer it to this piece and then hole saw it out so that it has the opening. But I think what'll save us some time is just cutting this off, clean this pipe up so it's smooth like this, and then clean the flange up, and we'll just JB weld it back over that opening to see if it's gonna hold. That way we don't have to do a hole saw or anything on any of our other pieces. So I think that's where I'm gonna start. I'm looking forward to that the least. So that's what we're gonna do, get that done so that we can move on to our other pieces. So I'm gonna get some tools out and we'll start getting that thing cut off. This thing might be loud, just a warning.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
That was absolutely a pain. That aluminum was way thicker than I thought it was going to be, as you guys can see here. Just a massively thick piece of aluminum. I don't know why they did that. Probably just because it's Chinesium. So now I'm going to go ahead. I've got a lot of work to do cleaning the flange up. Decide if we're going to clean this up or if I'm just going to drill a hole on the other pipe. And then we will start JB welding. As you guys can see, I've been working on this thing for a little while. I got a nice bevel here so that it should mate up to our pipe nice and flat, just like if I was gonna weld it. We are gonna reuse this one, so I'm just gonna cut the beads off it, but we've already got it all scuffed up and all the weld taken off. That was the biggest part, was getting all that weld off of there, but we have to scuff it up anyways for the JB weld, so I think that's gonna work out pretty good. It's a pretty good fit all the way around, and we will JB weld the crap out of it. Now I am just going to scuff up this edge all the way around as well, give it the best chance possible, and now we can move on to our next piece. Alright guys, so this is roughly what we've got. As you guys can tell, it is raining out here, it's dark, so I'm just trying to show you guys real quick that I am mocking it up. I got to cut this bend right here down quite a bit, and we need to cut a bead off of the short section right there, and then we should be just about ready for some JB weld. So I'm going to bring it inside, cut these down a little bit, we'll mock it up one more time, and then get the JB weld. Now we can go ahead and cut the other end of the bend. I didn't really think this far ahead. I'm not sure how we're going to hold this thing once we start JB welding it. But my biggest concern right now is that we start JB welding this thing and it's just going to be soft still and flop around, and I don't have a good way to hold it. My other thought is maybe take some painter's tape like we have here and try to get some pieces on the inside. I could like tape these two together, tape these two together on the inside, so that when we start JB welding it, we can set it like this to dry. We have our blow-off valve flange right here. That's got to get tacked in here as well, or JB welded in here as well. So, didn't really think this one through, but I'm sure there's a way we can do it. We'll just have to figure it out. So, I'm going to clean off our bench here, try to figure something out with that, get these all cleaned up and final prepped. I am going to scuff these a little more so the JB weld has something better to stick to, and then dry them all off and start mixing some JB weld. Alright, so the next thing we need to do is start cleaning these things out. So I'm just going to run a rag through them to get any of the aluminum shavings out. Then we can take some acetone and wipe these things down so the JB weld doesn't have any reason not to stick. And then we will finally be ready to start JB welding. Alright guys, so it might not be the best idea in the world, but the only thing I could really come up with is putting some tape on the inside to allow us to stick this thing together in a way that we can JB weld it. You never know. If this doesn't work, we might have to try something else. If you guys had better ideas, let me know down in the comments below. It's a little bit late now, but I'm curious. This is the best thing I could come up with besides putting tape on the outside. Ooh, feels pretty sturdy. Gonna have to give that a shot, see what it does. I could do something similar, take some tape and kind of fold it under on the opening here through the hole, but I just don't have much confidence in it holding. I'm trying to figure out how to do this all in one go so that I can just let it cure for the 24 hours and be good to go. Actually seems to be working-ish. I don't love it, but I think it's gonna work. So I'm just gonna keep on taping this thing all the way around. Alright guys, I don't know how well you guys can see it in there, but we've got some yellow's painter's tape all on the inside seams. And we are ready to peel this outside tape and jig this thing up to JB Weld it. Alright, we're ready. Let's go ahead and give it a shot. Alright guys, so we are finally ready to start mixing up some JB Weld. As you can see, I made myself a little jig here and threw some tape on the ends of our pipe so that I can still handle it even if I have JB Weld on my fingers. Now I just melted some half circles in this throwaway plastic tub. Hopefully, once we get it all JB welded up, we can set it like that to cure for the 24 hours. Now, we are using the original JB Weld, and it says that it takes 4 to 6 hours to set and then cures in 15 to 24. So I'm hoping that means that we have a little bit of time to work with this stuff. The last stuff I used cured pretty quick and started to harden, so I'm hoping we have a little bit more leeway with this stuff. So I think I'm going to start off with the blow-off valve, start trying to get that figured out. And then once we get that done, we can start doing the seams. That way I can just use my fingers if I have to. So that's the plan. Hopefully that doesn't come back to bite me, starting off with the blow-off valve. But we're going to have to give it a shot and see what happens. So let's get some JB Weld mixed up and get to work. All right, guys, we're going to open this stuff up and start mixing away. I don't think I'm going to go too crazy with batches. I almost would rather work in small batches, but let's just see what happens here. All right, here goes nothing. Let's try that. Alright, I'm going to start off with the blow-off valve flange, like I had mentioned, and we're just going to hope for the best here. I'm going to say that looks about as good as it's going to get. All right, let's start doing the seams. Thinking this stuff is what you want, the original. The stuff I tried to use on a different project, it wasn't a charge pipe, it was something else. That stuff cured really fast. Like, I couldn't even get it applied. By the time I was done mixing it, it started hardening. Like, it would have been hard by now. It must have been like quick set or something. And I was on the fence on which one to use, because I figured, oh, maybe the quick set would be good because it could start to harden and I could do another coat, like while we were still mixing it and stuff. Whereas this stuff, my only concern is it's gonna take a long time for this stuff to start tacking up, and I'm not gonna be able to do another coat because it takes 24 hours for it to cure. So I'm just trying to go decently heavy to where I'm confident it's gonna hold up and seal and stuff. So we're just gonna keep going with it and see what happens here. There you have it, guys. I think I definitely went a little heavier over here than I did on that side, but they're both plenty heavy as far as I'm concerned, and I have the seam just about down the middle of them. So pretty happy with how that came out, actually, for using JB Weld, and I'm actually pretty impressed I didn't have to mix up another batch. Like I said, guys, this stuff was definitely the move instead of the quick set. It seems like I have plenty of time to work with this one. It is also pretty cold out here, so that's probably helping. It's not super hot, and this stuff's not trying to just go crazy and set fast. So that's a good thing for us right now. As you guys seen, we got this thing all JB welded up. It actually came out pretty decent for working with JB Weld. Pretty happy with it. We didn't miss any spots. Everything looks like it's got a pretty decent coat. Should sit and settle overnight. We're gonna bring it in by the wood stove, let it sit for 24 hours, and then we'll give it a try. As you guys can see, I brought it inside. We're gonna let it cure in front of the wood stove for the next 24 hours, and then we'll finally be ready to see if this thing can hold some boost. All right, guys, so it's been about 12 hours. We're gonna go ahead and just take a quick look at this thing. So as you guys can see, this stuff's hardening up pretty good. Like I said, it's been about 12 hours. Not the prettiest thing I've ever seen, but it seems like it's holding pretty decently. Even where we had it on super thick, it's on there. So tape's still holding up. Everything looks good. We'll give it another 12 hours just because that's what the package says, and then give it a try. I honestly think we could probably throw it on right now and be fine, but just in case, I'm going to give it some time. So let's wait another 12 hours and then we will try it out. As you guys can see, our JB Weld pipe has fully cured. We actually let it sit for closer to 32 hours right in front of the wood stove. So this stuff is nice and hardened up. I will say the original formula seems to be the one you want to use. This stuff gave us plenty of time to work with, but it hardened up like a rock. So I think we're looking pretty good as far as that goes. We do still need to get our blow-off valve bolted on here, and I need to drill and tap this for that quick connect fitting. But once we get that done, we'll be just about ready to slap this thing on the car and start making some boost. All right, guys, we are finally ready to install this thing. So as you can see, I went ahead and made us a piece of mesh. So the only worry I've had with this setup is that if this thing blows apart, I don't want our new built engine to suck in pieces of JB Weld. So we made a cheap free turbo guard for the front of the turbo using this same mesh, and I'm going to do the same thing at the throttle body. So if this was the throttle body, we're going to go like that, put a wrap of electrical tape around it, and then put the coupler over it. It's going to be perfectly fine for what we're doing. If we need to, we'll just give it more duty cycle, ram more air through it. Just hoping that if any pieces of this end up blowing apart, this will hopefully catch it before it goes through the engine and ruins our engine. So let's go ahead, throw this on the car, and we're just about ready to start testing. Tighten those down by hand, hook up a couple lines real quick, and we're just about ready. As you guys see, we got the hood pulled off of this thing. We've got all of our clamps tightened up, all the couplers are on. We do have our blow-off valve line hooked up and our line that goes to our electronic boost control. I did go ahead and throw a GoPro on the windshield so we have a nice view of this thing just in case it does let go. But what do you guys think is going to happen? Let me know down in the comments below. We're going to start off on gate pressure right around 5 to 6 PSI, so disable the boost control, and then we're going to work our way up in increments all the way up to about 20 to 22 PSI is where we're going to call it quits. So let me know in the comments down below, what do you guys think is going to happen? Do you think it's going to hold 20 pounds, or do you think it's going to let go somewhere in the middle? So let's get this thing fired up, get some heat in it, and go take it for a rip. So it's pretty cold out. I'm going to fire this thing up, let it build some heat, and then we'll go take it for its first rip with the JB welded charge pipe and see if it can hold some boost. While we let this thing warm up for a minute, I'm going to go ahead and disable our boost control. So we're going to go over to boost control settings here, and I'm just going to fully disable it for a minute, hoping for about 5 to 6 pounds of boost, but we'll see what happens. We've let this thing get some heat in it. I'm going to give it a couple quick revs, just make sure we're good to go, and then we're going to go rip this thing on gate pressure and see what happens. That was 6 PSI. Looked like a little bit over 6 actually. And it looks like we still have a charge pipe. I can't quite see it, but I think we still have a charge pipe. Let's give it another one on 6 pounds and see if it can hold. So I just checked the log real quick. It actually made 7 pounds. So 7 PSI. Let's take a look at the engine bay. If everything's good, we'll bump it up. Everything looks good so far. Nothing seems loose or wonky or anything like that. It's still pretty solid. So let's go ahead, bump up the boost and see what happens. All right, so I went back in the Hondata, enabled our boost control, set it at 30% duty cycle, and then down at quick spool, we have that set at 5 PSI. So we'll flash this one and go give it a try and see if it holds. Since it was able to hold 30% duty cycle and a little over 8 PSI, let's bump that all the way up to 40%. We'll see what it makes for boost and see if it holds. All right, guys, so as you can tell, it is now dark out. So I filmed a ton of different clips at all different boost levels with the JB Welded charge pipe. And I sat down to edit the video tonight to post it tomorrow morning. And for whatever reason, it did not get any of the audio. So very frustrating, but we're gonna take this thing back out after it warms up, turn the boost up, make some pulls, and see what happens. Really impressed with how well this JB Weld pipe is holding on. As you guys can tell, and if you've been watching my videos, you know third gear is completely smoked. It's gotten exponentially worse over the course of the last couple days, so bear with me on that. We are trying to source a transmission for me to build so we don't have to pull this one out of the car so the car's not down, but for now we just kind of got to deal with it grinding in third. So this thing is absolutely ripping though. Made a decent little bit of boost there. Let's go ahead and make another one, see if this JB Welded charge pipe can hold on. So that's odd, it only made 8 pounds of boost again. It made a tiny bit more. I think it made almost 9, but we should have been making a good amount more than that. So I'm gonna go ahead and take a look at our boost control setup. Looks like we made about 9.5. For a 10% swing, we should have been making a decent amount more. So I'm gonna go ahead and take a look at our plumbing real quick, make sure we're good to go, and then we'll try this again. All of our plumbing looks fine, so I'm just gonna go ahead and up it to 45%, see if we see any change, and then we'll go from there. So I did go ahead and turn the boost controller about where we had it earlier so that we could get some similar runs at least. But just kind of annoyed that the GoPro didn't get the clips during the day because we had some pretty good runs. So I'm gonna call that run 15 PSI. It held on. So let's go ahead and up the duty cycle and try it again. So we just did 55% duty cycle. I went ahead and bumped it up to 60, bumped our quick spool up to 8 PSI. Let's flash it and give it another try. That one felt like she was ripping. All right, so looking at that last run, I'm not sure why the dash camera didn't pick it up. It's kind of annoying because that was a really good run. Sounded great, but we did make 21 PSI, so super happy about that. That's right about where we want it to be with the JB Welded charge pipe. But since the dash camera didn't get it, let's go try to make one more and see if it holds. absolutely ripping. It doesn't feel like we lost the charge pipe, so I think that thing is probably still on there. I can't believe that little JB Weld charge pipe is holding up. Alright, let's go take a look at the logs and a look at our JB welded charge pipe and see if that thing's still hanging on. Alright guys, so taking a look at our data log here, we made almost 24 pounds of boost. That is the most boost I've ever made with the Turbo Civic, and we did it on a JB welded charge pipe, so super stoked about that. Now our AFR was all over the place and extremely lean. I should have kept a closer eye on it, but I've never ran it past 21 pounds, so I need to make some changes there, get this thing much safer. But let's go take a look at our charge pipe and see if this thing's still holding on. Let's take a quick look at how our JB welded charge pipe held up to 24 pounds of boost. This thing absolutely surprised me. It's still solid as can be. There's no cracks, no evidence that this thing was trying to quit whatsoever. So what did you guys think of the JB Weld charge pipe? I was honestly extremely impressed. I did not think this stuff was going to hold up to 24 pounds of boost, and after doing the test, I think it could hold up to a whole bunch more. Now I do think you would start introducing an issue if you tried to solid mount the charge piping, like bolting it to a chassis, and if the engine wasn't solid mounted. Once they could start rotating separately of each other, I think that's when you would introduce an issue. But as far as pressure is concerned, I think it could hold a whole bunch more. Let me know down in the comments below, what did you guys think? Did you think it was going to hold up to 24 pounds of boost? I definitely did not. And while you're there, let me know if you guys would like to see a full JB Weld turbo kit in the future, because we could definitely make that happen. As always, I appreciate you guys for checking out the channel. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell, and check us out on all of our other social media platforms: Facebook, TikTok, and Bought to Build Official on Instagram. And we will catch you on the next one.